Well, it's a big birthday today. It's actually the birthday coming up on the 15th of August at the 50-year anniversary of fake money. Yeah, that's right. So the US dollar basically became a full fiat currency on the 15th of August 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the Bretton Woods gold system. Let's do a short history so you understand the impact on your lives right now of why this is the biggest event in your lives and this is destroying you and it'll destroy your kids and it destroys everything. Let's go. So, 5,000 years with gold or silver standards for money. Abraham bought his burial plot for 400 silver shekels. So, gold and silver throughout history, blah, 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 blah. What happened was, about the 1700s, 1600s, people would give their gold to a goldsmith, and the goldsmith would give a certificate of deposit. That goldsmith then realized, hey, you know what? I can lend out this gold. I've got 1 kilo of gold, but I'll print more certificates and use that to make even more money, to lend out the same gold to 7 different people. Fine. They all lent out but borrowed the same gold. Great. Then you'd have a war or some shocking event. There'd be a run on the goldsmith. The goldsmith wouldn't have the gold. Obviously, he only has 1 kilo. He's got 7 kilos of claims, and he'd go bankrupt. This happened very rapidly until central banks in about 1600s. The Bank of England was created, the first ever central bank that said, enough. We are going to be the only ones issuing gold certificates. You are not allowed to. No more little banks going bankrupt every 5 seconds and cheating people. We're now going to be issuing the gold certificates. That's what cash was. It's simply a gold certificate. So they did that quite well, actually, all the way up till Bretton Woods, right, 1944. When America had 83% of the world's gold after World War II, right? They'd sold their arms and ripped off every other country in the world and basically taken all the gold home. So they had all the gold. They said, right, we're going to issue the new gold certificates and they're going to be called US dollars. And every other currency is going to be based off the US dollar, right? That's the way it worked. Now, very cleverly, they realized, hey, we can just print this because everyone's fixed on our dollars and we have the gold and no one else is to have the gold, only our certificates. Hey, we'll just print it. Vietnam War, the Great Society Project, massive printing of dollars until Charles de Gaulle, an evil guy himself but clever in this circumstance, he said, hey, we've got tons of dollars. Give me the gold, please, Nixon. And Nixon's like, oh, we don't really have any gold, right? We don't have anything in Fort Knox. There's nothing there, right? They pretend 8,000 tons, they don't have it. So, and then they said, 15th of August, 1971, Nixon announces they're temporarily suspending the gold standard. Now, as you all know, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program, right? Just like they're temporarily locking us down and temporarily issuing green passports. I can guarantee you it's going to go on forever, the rest of your life, but that's another topic. So we went on full fiat. Now what's happened is America thought, oh wow, no one's going to trust this. Is garbage. It's literal garbage, right? It's all fake. But then they said, hey, you know what? No one's clocked on. The population don't care. And so it's gone on for 50 years. And now we have created the financial system where people in that system become very, very rich. Property, stocks, all manipulated, all by a small little, basically, elite that control that. And the real economy that is completely decoupled and there's no bearing. Now, if we go back before 1971, I want you to think, I know we have those misty days. You think of your parents, your grandparents, and you have to understand they lived quite well. They had pretty ordinary jobs, and they have managed to amass assets, housing, stock portfolios, but they didn't really work that hard. The wife largely stayed at home or did a very menial job, right? And the dad worked a 9 to 5 pretty much, and that was it. Now everyone's working mental hours. Two people are working as well. Husband and wife, both in good jobs, working very hard, can barely have 2 or 3 kids right? In those days you had 4 or 5, no problem. 2 or 3 kids is a tough one nowadays. And we are becoming China. China don't even care that they've just gone off from a 3-child policy, from a 1-child policy to a 2-child to a 3-child, because they cannot even have 1 child. People cannot even have 1 child. That's how bad it is. It's a slave economy. They don't have the money. They're working so hard. They can't afford the property. The property. Where can they move out to? Where do you want people to move out to when it's $1 million in Vancouver or London or New York for a 2-bed? What do you want people to do? There's nothing to be done. The financial economy has strangled the real economy, and it's getting worse and worse. JP Morgan, prior to 1971, had 2,000 employees. It now has hundreds of thousands. Property, no one went and invested in property. They never went up. They didn't go up because the builder can just build 1 million units in 5 seconds. It never went up. Property was a nothing. Stock markets, are you actually kidding with me? It had never even recovered from its Great Depression peak. The Great Depression was still the highest it ever got to in 1929. It took them years. Only when the fiat currency was created, only when we had fiat money. We had inflation. We had the stagflation of the 70s, destroyed people. We had, the what's called deregulation of the 80s. Since then, everything has gone from bad to worse. The financial economy done very well. Properties through the roof, stock markets through the roof. Reality, not doing, wages stagnant, disposable income, nothing, personal debt through the roof because people have to compensate their living standard through taking on debt. There wasn't no debt before the 70s. Who took on debt? There wasn't even credit cards, to be fair, before 1971. They were only invented at the end of the 60s. So there was nothing. It was a pure, sound system where if you worked hard, you grew. Capitalism, right? You work hard, you make something people like, you grow. Now we have share buyback world. You don't make any money, you take on debt, you pretend you have a company, you make losses, and you're still successful. This isn't capitalism, guys. 50 years to the day, it has destroyed your life. Your wages will never be able to make up for it. The house prices will continue going through the roof. The asset prices will still go through the roof. The real inflation will still go up. There would be no inflation if there was gold, right? It's its own interest rate. You don't need an interest rate when you have sound money. It only deflates. Do you not get it? If there's sound money, a fixed amount of money, right? The iPhone cannot go from $1,000 to $2,000. It cannot do that. Why? Because as I become more productive in making phones, the price goes down because there's only a limited amount of gold. Right? There's only a limited amount of gold. So I'm not willing to part with that gold for something. If it becomes more productive, only then it gets more value. But you cannot just raise the price like that because I'm like, no, I'm not paying. No one would pay for that. The price of everything, of the same thing I'm saying, would go down always over time. Compared to nowadays, the price of the same thing goes up the whole time. The price of Coke goes up even though it's more efficient to be made, right? We are not in capitalism at all anymore. This is not capitalism. Runaway inflation is not capitalism. We do not have inflation in a real monetary system. You only have deflation because prices of things go down as you make things more efficient. So just that one thing 50 years ago, that's all you have to remember.